Meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meeting live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the meeting.
Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What? Oh yeah, every meeting it gets greater.
Good morning and welcome to the July 26th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. A thought for today from St. Francis de Sales says that when you encounter difficulties and contradictions, do not try to break them. Bend them with gentleness and time. Madam Clerk.
Resolutions, number 1, Job and Family Services bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Vacy? Aye. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah. Number 7 of 10. I have a chance to talk to Jim on that.
What is it, please?
I just wrote it down for a discussion
Oh.
on the appropriations.
Here.
Sanitary engineer.
Yeah. I was told we were just getting permits.
All right, Mr. Carney's here.
Would you let us know what we're talking about, please?
This is the additional appropriation to Sanitary Engineers Department.
In the amount of?
80,000. Last I knew we were
Right, the
just
total
getting-
appropriation is $80,000. Ken, is this the first, so we have funds positioned for some of that work that we're talking about on the package plants? I don't know that we're going forward with any of that work right now, but
But we did apply for, we okayed the permits to be filed, correct?
right, we transferred the money for the permits for the package plants for the EPA, to pay the EPA. This appropriation is to set the stage so that when we get ready to move forward with the work, we have funding, correct?
Mr. Carney, would you come to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Where is this on your agenda?
It's under appropriations.
Perhaps he could see the document.
It's
Yeah,
not-
let me bring you the document.
Wing this. What?
We do.
That's a problem.
How does it get this far without nobody?
No, this is a normal circumstance where we just move money from one account to another to help. It removes money from the income we receive from our billing and our reimbursements we get from the Elyria Water Department, and that paid. We move this money to another account to pay other expenses, which is basically our loans. We have 3 outstanding notes for 3 sewer projects. Sheffield Township, or where all those 3 are located. We have to pay a certain amount twice a year. We just move this money over to this account so we can pay that. There's no additional funds required, just a moving the money.
Is that, That's on appropriations. Now, where's that money coming from? Does it show that, John?
It's actually coming from unappropriated money, Commissioners, and I think the key word here is the stage is being set for payments by appropriating this money or putting it in place so those payments could be paid from the appropriation, which again comes from unappropriated funds. So that's correct.
No, you said this is coming from our unappropriated funds. And he's saying it's coming from monies that we're getting from the,
It is coming from unappropriated funds. But the funds are generated by fees
The
that
revenue
are paid
source.
into the general fund. So there's a revenue source. So it goes to the general fund into unappropriated, and then when those fees are transferred into the sanitary engineers department.
That's absolutely correct.
okay,
Yes.
So, do we have our questions answered then?
yes.
To your satisfaction?
Yes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Vacy? Aye. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Carney and Mr. Okasi and Mr. Cortez.
Transfers?
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
Let's see. Can I take a look at numbers 1, 7, and 11? I didn't sign those three. Lost my pen. So I had here.
Oh, that was sanitary engineer.
Yeah.
Sanitary engineer.
And,
General fund.
yeah.
Specified transfer. Commissioner Salary.
I'm gonna let Jim handle that, if that's okay, Commissioner.
I'd just like to, for the benefit of everybody, we need to know what we're talking about. Mr. Cortez.
Okay, the first one is a
Number 1 of 13?
1 of 13
Okay.
is very common.
What is it, please?
Mr. Montine retired, and we need to
Thank
transfer
you.
funds into our salary accounts to pay out his terminating of his vacation and so forth. It's very common practice when somebody retires. They cash out their sick leave and their vacation.
Oh, okay.
Those funds are not built into the budget. We do have a separate monies that we appropriate each year, and John, you're just transferring it so we can pay. Is that correct?
That's right.
That's,
Once again, on the transfer of funds,
What number is that, please?
number 7 of 13, 11 of 13, both have to do with sanitary engineers, and those aren't appropriations, those are transfers between the accounts, just to move the money into the appropriate account so we can access it.
but is that between what we just did, or is this something?
No, those are funds that are already there, they're just being moved into an account to pay for the work that needs to be done. So there's no
Okay,
new
but We're
appropriation
paying
there.
for work to be done, which I felt we're still in discussion mode on.
I think that's ongoing, that's not
Tanglewood is a
upgrades.
separate issue. That's sewer outside of Carlisle Township negotiated with the village of Grafton.
Right, the other one's the Eaton package plant there.
Right, that's only,
This is transfer
Just
from
has a-
other expenses
right.
to contract repair.
Right.
I thought you only signed.
A lot of times, the auditor's office won't allow us to access funds unless it's in an account that they consider most appropriate for the particular spending that we're doing.
Okay, that was, what, so what do we have, 11?
You didn't sign it.
And that's 7, and I just signed 1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Are our questions answered then?
Yep.
Okay, Madam Clerk?
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
There were no advances.
Well, we won't have any questions on that then, will we? You want to advance somebody? Okay.
Requisitions?
Okay.
So move.
Okay, I'll second, but I had questions on 2. On 162801 and 160501,
2801,
yeah, which is,
no academics.
yeah, okay.
And
then
what was
I
the
just,
other
no, I
one?
just I was gonna ask
Okay.
about that, is that
The
standard?
the new Acadu's at
Yeah.
29,000.
Yeah.
That's our allotment. The breakdown, that's our breakdown. The county engineer also picks up a portion of that. I believe his breakdown's about
Which is
10,000.
1605, I saw that, so I didn't know if this was,
It is standard. That's our allotment. Each year, they come up with an allotment for all the members of NOACR, and that's our share.
okay. Well, I saw the two from the two different departments, so I didn't know if we were...
Right, Mr. Carney picks up a portion of the county dues, and he maintains a seat for, because
And
he does
just as
that.
an FYI, the NOACA is reviewing their code of regulations now, and they are anticipating a slight increase because they have not had an increase in over 5 years, and the code calls for a base amount of something like $900,000 distributed among the 5 counties, and they are increasing expenses, and that has not kept pace. So there will be an increase forthcoming, number one, and number two, in addition to the engineer and the commissioners, by an arrangement that's been worked out a number of years ago, each of the other entities in the county also pays a dollar amount. And I would respectfully request the board to authorize Ron Twining to review this information, because there are some that pay a ridiculously low amount, like $6, and it really is not worth NOACA's time to bill these people that amount of money. So I would like the board to authorize Ron to work on this and to come up with a more equitable distribution of the dollar amount, since it is the county's responsibility to determine how it's paid. And in some of the counties, the county pays the whole amount.
That's how it used to be, Betty, but when George Corey was here, George and I went over this, and Herb, and that's how we came up with that. Actually, the engineer's portion was never paid in the past before we reviewed it, and since Mr. Carney took office, he generously offered to pay a portion of that. So that $10,000 really helped the county out a lot in the past years. Thank you, Ken.
So are you asking Ron to evaluate how we're going to do the distribution?
Well, I'd
Is that
like
what
him
you-
to, I have the figures from the executive committee, and I would like to work with Ron to come up with something a little bit more equitable, so that those $6 amounts and perhaps amounts under $100 are not billed to the individual.
Well, what it is, it
subdivisions.
costs NOACA more than $6
Oh, no,
to bill for
no,
something.
I understand. I just want to make sure that we're not, all we're doing is we're asking Ron to just develop.
at it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Just to revisit it and do a,
Yeah, I
maybe
think
send
we
us a
need
memo
to.
and say,
Are they-
here's the numbers, and this is what we're looking at that makes more sense. And
Is NOACA having a problem collecting those fees?
Yes, they have for the last couple of years.
Are you?
Yes, and
What's
Lorain
the
County was the
problem?
last one that paid.
The townships don't want to pay their $6?
No. It was a few townships that received a bill for a very small amount of money, and so, anyway, I'd just like to ask him to look at it. He can look at it and come back with some recommendations for us.
could you look at that, Ron? Sure. I know you'd say that. Could you find out if people are also in the townships, if there's a issue with each one? Okay.
Thank you.
Is that sufficient?
Yeah, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Travel expenses?
So move.
Second?
Discussion? Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Bills?
So move.
Second?
Discussion? Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners. At the conclusion of the board meeting, the Commissioners will recess into executive session to discuss personnel, new hires, and disciplinary actions and litigation issues.
I think we should hold the personnel sheet
Okay.
until after our executive session. So would you move to item number 10, please?
Approve and enter into contract with Smart Solutions Incorporated, Cleveland, Ohio, in the amount of $44,000 for Cisco Network Hardware Maintenance Contract. 4 bids were received, and this was the lowest and most responsive.
Also move.
I would suggest that we go out for new bids. I don't think the specifications were real clear, because the bids ranged from $12,000 to $94,000. There's a big difference in the range, and I think it had to do with the way the specs were put together. So, and not only that, but Jerry Ennis is reviewing the contract. So with all this, I would say that we put this on hold and either go out for new bids or wait until Jerry reviews the contract.
Well, I would amend, then I would amend my motion to say that we approve the contract subject to approval of same from the prosecutor's office. And the reason that I am making that motion is because last week, I believe on the 16th, my administrative assistant attended the data board meeting wherein this matter was discussed. And when she came back and reported to me some of the questions that were asked, I then received a phone call from one of the systems managers who indicated that Ron Nabokowski, as the, I believe the chairman of the committee, or the acting chairman anyway, had called a special meeting at 2:30 that afternoon to further discuss this matter. And so I attended that meeting together with Yvonne Newton, our purchasing director, and Karen Cleveland, who works as a systems manager for the county. And there was lengthy discussion there, and at the conclusion of the discussion, it was the recommendation, I felt it was the recommendation of all the people in the room that in fact we needed this and it needed to go forward as soon as possible. And there was some reference to the bids having been taken in April. And so if there's anyone else who wants to speak to this issue more definitely than I, perhaps Ms. Newton, but I think we ought to approve this and move forward.
Well, I have a copy of the minutes from June 27th from the data board, and here's a note that states that Dave Keener had some questions. The bids range from $14,000 to $93,000, with two bids around $40,000. The sizable bid range was attributed to unclear bid specifications. So I think even some of the computer people have questions, and here's a copy of this if you'd like to
Well,
see.
I was in attendance when all the computer people were there. Is there a spokesperson from the computer systems management group who wishes to address this issue?
What questions were there on it?
Would you come forward, Brian, please, and state your name?
Brian Michaels with the Lorain County Prosecutor's Office.
Thank you, Brian.
What were the questions?
The difference between the bids, they range from like $12,000 to $94,000.
The reason there were differences in the bids, the Xerox bid, they didn't actually bid on all our products. They bid on one of our routers instead of 10. If they were, we figured it out, if they were to have bid on 10 of them, it would have been right in line with the others. The other bid that was really low was because they actually were not Cisco certified. They failed to provide any certification, so we had to throw that bid out to begin with. The bid we did decide to go with, the Smart Solutions one. They provided all the necessary requirements we met. We agreed that we didn't need the Smart Solutions plan, which was sorry, a little nervous here. Which was to get actual Cisco updates on all our products. We chose the router, which basically links the county together. We chose the firewall, which prevents people from hacking in and getting to our information. And then we chose the dial-up server, which allows off-site locations to dial in and get our information. We thought those were the only three that really needed the actual updates, which cut the cost in half from $90,000 to $40,000.
But were the specifications very clear that each bidder that bid on this project knew exactly what they were bidding on? And if they knew that, then why was there such a difference in the cost?
Actually, yes. We actually had all the bidders here and allowed them to ask any questions they wanted. We showed them around the county, showed them all our equipment. The reason there was such a big difference, like I said, was Xerox made a mathematical error, and the biggest item on the list, which is a router, we have 10 of them throughout the county, they only bid on one of them instead of 10.
But was that in the specifications that we have 10?
Yes.
And it was their error that they
Yes.
missed?
They bid on one instead of 9 more, which if you add on the extra 9 would bring their bid price right along the lines of the others. And then the other one, like I said, was not actually Cisco certified, so they could keep their price low because they didn't have to pay for actual Cisco equipment, Cisco contract, if you will.
Do you know if there's a 30-day escape clause in the contract?
Yeah, yes there is.
How long is the contract for?
We have it set up now. Right now, we have coverage on our firewall through Cisco. So we set up the contract so that it would end at the end of next year, I believe, and the contract would cover all the equipment except the firewall until the end of this year, and then at the end of this year, we would pick up the firewall and have a full year of coverage on everything.
Okay, and do you know if in the contract we'll be receiving a monthly report on what the cost is and what they're doing for the charges?
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, see, this worries me too because Jerry didn't review this contract yet.
Yes, he did. I took it to him
Well,
myself.
I was told this morning that he didn't.
Well, my motion is to approve it subject to his approval.
Yvonne Newton, Lorain County Purchasing Director for the Commissioners. Jerry did review part of the contract. I had the company to go back and add the equipment that was going to be coming off in December and going on in January as the firewall that Brian spoke about. So I had Jerry review that part of the contract. The main contract that Brian's talking about, he did review. We had another part of it that I wanted to implement into that so that we would have it all, which was the signature page and so forth. So Jerry has that, and he's reviewing that part. But he was okay with what we gave him from last week.
Okay, just so we make sure that there's a 30-day escape clause in there and that we get a report.
Yes, we had that in the specs.
And is this a local company? Is this a Lorain County company?
No, it's a company out of Cleveland. We did not have any local companies that were Cisco certified.
The one that did bid local was not certified. That's the one we had to throw out because they could void our, they actually weren't Cisco certified, so we couldn't even consider.
And I do have a copy of the letter from July 17th addressed to the commissioners. It says, on this day, through a motion by Ron Nabokowski, seconded by Brian Michaels, the board members and the majority of the systems managers authorized the data board chairman to advise Yvonne Newton to accept the bid of Smart Solutions for the network maintenance service contract. The terms of the agreement will be negotiated, as you have said, and if there is any reason not to accept the contract, it will be rebid. And this is signed by Dan Tulare, chairman of the Automatic Data Processing Board. Is there a second to the motion?
Can we wait 1 week till I can talk to Jerry on this?
If there's no second to the motion, it dies for lack of a second.
I don't want it to die. Is there a way we can just table it for next week? Next week's meeting?
If you don't second it, we
Okay.
theoretically tabled it.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to make sure it's back on the agenda for next week.
You can ask it to be placed on the agenda.
Next week.
Can I say
Brian,
one more?
you have something to say?
I'd just like to stress how important this contract is. Right now, we don't have any coverage on anything except the firewall. So if one of our routers were to go down, say the one in the basement, basically the whole computer network for the county would not work. Right now, seeing how we don't have a contract, Cisco, if you don't have a contract through one of their certified people, they put you on a waiting list. So the average turnaround time would be 3 to 4 weeks before the county would be working again if one of our routers went down. If our wide area router went down, which we have no coverage on, no buildings except this one would be able to function computer-wise. It's probably the most important computer related item that I can stress we need to get. If one of our routers went down, that's $30,000 right there if we have to replace it. That's it.
Can
And
we,
the contract is for $44,000.
Yeah. So if one
And it
goes
has a
down.
30-day cancellation clause.
Yes.
Yeah.
can we approve this contingent upon our approval of the contract?
That's what.
From the prosecutor. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I would like to see the contract too. I want to.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying.
I mean, I'm saying the approval of the board. We still have to approve the contract or
Well, this is approving the concept, and it is approving the entering into a contract with Smart Solutions.
See, it says to approve and enter into the contract. We haven't even seen the contract. How can we approve it?
The bids were received. The contract is in the process of preparation based on the input from a variety of people.
This type of thing always scares me. We're approving things without an actual copy of a resolution in the front of us, without seeing contracts, that we know exactly what we're voting on. We should have these things at least 1 week in advance before we vote on these issues.
I don't know about you, but I certainly don't have the time or the wherewithal to read every contract that the board approves. That's why we have support staff to do these things on our behalf.
But at least we would have the opportunity to read them if they're in the front of us a week in advance.
If there's no second to the motion, Madam Clerk, would you move on to item number 11, please? Thank you, Brian and Yvonne, for your input.
Award contract to Kokosing Construction Company, Frederickstown, Ohio, in the amount of $85,015.75 for the Columbia West River Road resurfacing project. The estimate was $96,667. This was the lowest and most responsive bid received, complying with specifications. The funds are available in the MVGT Engineering Projects account, and the county engineer has reviewed and recommends approval.
I'll move for approval, and I'd like to point out that I don't have a contract in front of me, and these contracts will not be prepared until after we authorize this action.
There we go again.
I'll second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Authorize release and payment of retainage to R.A. Joseph Construction, Avon, Ohio, in the amount of $1,195.44 for work performed on the City of Oberlin Spring Street Park Shelter. This contract is complete, and the contractor has submitted the necessary paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Hi, excuse me, but this is another reason, when we don't have those contracts in the front of us and in our department, that's what holds up our meetings, our minutes of the meetings too. And legally, we are supposed to approve the minutes of the previous meeting at this meeting. And this has not been done for the last 12 and a half years that I've been here. And this is the type of thing that holds our clerk up from having those minutes ready.
Ms. Basie has communicated her concerns to me in a memorandum, and prior to that, Ms. Blair also communicated her concerns on this issue to me on ways of speeding up the process with the board. Ms. Blair, who is on vacation, has given me some material that may alleviate that problem. I'm not sure if it's going to completely alleviate it, but it should improve it substantially. And when she returns from vacation, I will get right to that.
I think the only thing that's going to alleviate the problem is to have this information before us before we vote on these issues, and then the clerk can automatically transfer it into the minutes.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Commissioner. The only thing I can say is that it may well serve to slow the process that's already slow.
Are we here to keep records, or are we here to do business? I mean, I realize that record keeping is a very important part of doing business, but some of these things need to be enacted, and I don't think we can wait for the official documentation in order to do it. I just don't believe that's possible.
I'd like to know if Cuyahoga County does business like this.
They are not our leaders in everything.
What's that got to, are we talking about number 12?
Well, I'm just talking about having the things prepared for us. It really bothers me. It's bothered me for 12 years.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll on item 12, please?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Thank you.
Sorry, you
Item
lost.
number 13.
Approve and enter into subdividers agreement with Crockers Landing LLC Ohio Limited Partnership for Crockers Landing Subdivision, Columbia Township. Rich Barron is the developer. The estimated cost of construction is $467,000, and inspection fees are in the amount of $9,340. The county engineer will inspect the improvements as installed on a timely basis and bill the subdivider for said inspections. The subdivider shall pay the entire cost and expenses of said improvement. Developer has provided an escrow agreement in the sum of $467,000 deposited with Fifth Third Bank of Cleveland, Ohio, and a certificate of liability insurance. The county engineer has reviewed and recommends approval.
And I believe the prosecutor has reviewed this as well and has signed the documentation. Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Approve a proposal from DLZ Cleveland, Ohio, in the amount of $24,600 to perform a preliminary development phase engineering study on Griswold Road from Lake Avenue to City of Elyria Corporation Limit. The county engineer and Elyria Township trustees are interested in widening and improving this section of road, and the study will result in a recommendation on number of lanes, type of construction, anticipated right-of-way requirements, and other items, and authorize a purchase order to be issued from the engineer bond funds from which this approval will be paid.
Mr. Carney, would you like to address the board on this issue?
Well, very quickly, this is the first phase of many phases to develop a $3.5 million project on behalf of the request, or a mutual endeavor actually between the township trustees and our office. We feel there's a need to review. Ultimately, we're looking for a 3-lane concrete curb and gutter, full-blown storm sewer, sanitary, possibly if there's any petitioning involved. That's going to be a separate review. But if you recall, there is a preliminary, there is a more of a detailed plan presently for a sanitary pickup. That's not what we're discussing at this point. This is road systems only. This is a preliminary development phase. The engineer will be chosen at a later date when qualifications are submitted, man-hours are submitted, and at that point in time, we'll develop a contract with the consultant. This is, as I say, a preliminary development phase. Based on this information, we'll have a scope of services available to us to develop more of a concrete consulting engineering contract, which we estimate to be in the neighborhood of $400,000. This is expected to be 100% reimbursed.
Questions for Mr. Carney on this issue? I note that it says the Elyria Township trustees are interested. Apparently you've been working with them.
Yes.
Any further questions? If not, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Allocate funds from account plan implementation in the amount of $551.01 to Wellington Community Fire District for closed-the-loop funds. The Wellington Community Fire Department will purchase safety block and cribbing to aid in the rescue and extrication procedures often performed at motor vehicle accidents, trench rescue, or building collapse. Dan Billman, Director, Lorain County Solid Waste District, has reviewed and recommends approval.
Dan, would you like to just briefly address this issue?
Thank you, Commissioners. Dan Billman, Lorain County Solid Waste Director. These blocks that Wellington Fire Department want are plastic blocks that they can use to build up a space, so when they're extricating a victim from a wall or underneath a car that's rolled over or something, they have the safety blocking there so it doesn't come back down. The reason for the plastic is that the wooden blocks they now use get saturated with oil, antifreeze, sometimes chemicals, and they have to throw them away. With the plastic, they just wash them down and go on. I think Lieutenant Brown is here if he'd like to speak on the issue. Bill? A lot of the departments in the county already have these this blocking, so.
Bill Brown, Wellington Fire District. Again, the blocking that we're asking for is very specific in that it's very supportive. One of the products is actually called a Lincoln log, and if you remember back to your days as a child, Lincoln logs would interlock with each other, making it very stable. When you're supporting a car, a vehicle, whatever we're trying to support, these are going to be much more efficient than just the old wooden blocks that we, kind of our handmade deals that we have with our department right now, and a lot of departments, I think. So the products that we're looking into, again, will be very beneficial to the department.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And Dan,
Thank you.
any questions from the board?
I would move to approve the allocation.
I'll second.
Further discussion?
That's 555.01, correct?
Correct,
That's what it said.
$551.01.
Okay.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Issue notice to proceed letters to LaGrange Plumbing and Trenching, LaGrange, Ohio, Suburban Process Piping Incorporated, Lorain, Ohio, Atlas Electrical Construction Incorporated, Elyria, and Ohio Diversified Services Incorporated, Rock River, Ohio, for the Emergency Operations Center addition for 911 Agency Emergency Management effective July 30th, 2001. This contract was awarded by Resolution 01626 on June 28, 2001, and the groundbreaking for this building will be on Wednesday, August 1st, 2001 at 9 a.m. at 322 North Gateway Boulevard, Elyria, Ohio.
Also moved.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yes. I have a question. Is prevailing wage verbiage included in the contracts and also local hire preferences? Who has the contracts?
I'm sorry.
Ms.
what
Vacy,
was
would
the
you restate
question?
your question,
Yes.
please?
Is prevailing wage verbiage included in the contracts and also the local hire preferences?
Yes, ma'am.
They're in there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk? Can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Excuse me, Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
For the benefit of the public, you're invited to the groundbreaking on Wednesday, August 1st at 9 a.m. Anyone who would like to attend.
Amend Resolution Number 01421 adopted May 3, 2001 for the 3-day staff training session for TANF Town. This took place at Lorain County Community College Spitzer Conference Center, and the amendment is to reflect a total increase of $192, $172 for a setup fee, and $20 for 2 additional employees that attended from Job and Family Services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Approve and enter into a purchase and service contract between Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services and Community Health Partners, Lorain, Ohio, for physical and mental capacity testing for OWF participants in the amount of $14,500. This contract is effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 till June 30th, 2002, and authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Accept the grant awarding the amount of $34,738 from the Bureau of Justice Assistance for the local law enforcement block grant FY 2001 to reduce crime and improve public safety. The County General Fund match of 10% is needed to accept this grant in the amount of $3,860, and Resolution 01624 adopted June 28, 2001 filed for this grant via the Internet.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Increase the funding for attorney reimbursement in juvenile cases to represent indigent juveniles and their parents in the amount not to exceed $60,000. This funding for the court-appointed counsel reimbursements will be maintained until December 31st, 2001.
Mr. Cortez?
Thank you. Part of the funding that was being used to defray some of the costs for the court-appointed attorneys has diminished. They had a merit grant that was producing about $60,000 a year, and that has been reduced to $15,000. Therefore, there's a shortfall of $45,000 that needs to be made up this year to keep the services at par. And in addition to that, the domestic is anticipating an increase in the appointment of some attorneys, and they're requesting an additional $15,000 over their appropriation for last year. So that brings the total to $60,000. We really have little choice in this matter to appropriate these monies. The Commissioner, you want?
No, somebody is here from the department if they want to speak.
I
Put you up
understand
a
if
hot
you,
seat.
well, it's okay. I don't mind.
I don't know.
The courts need to appoint the attorneys, and we need to pay the fees. I think you're well aware that the state keeps diminishing their return to us. We're down to 42%. They're supposed to give us a 50% match on that. Corsair has been actively pursuing getting the state to appropriate more money, but each year seems to be less and less, and then we seem to have more and more need. And I think this request needs to be approved, and there's not a whole lot more I can tell you on it, except that it's contingent upon how many attorneys are needed for people that come before the courts.
I would so move.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Vacy? Aye. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Issue notice to proceed letter to Cocosing Construction Company, Frederickstown, Ohio, for the 2001 hot mix resurfacing project effective July 26, 2001. This contract was awarded by Resolution 01589, adopted June 21, 2001.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy? Aye. Approving various loans for startup costs for businesses in Lorain County with funding approved by Lorain County area-wide microenterprise loan program, excuse me, for a 5-year period at a 9.5% interest rate. The loan applications have been reviewed and approved by the LAMP Review Loan Committee and authorized the President to execute on behalf of the Board as follows. Number 1, Lillian Jackson, Something Natural, 219 West 8th Street, Lorain, in the amount of $20,000 with 4 employees.
Mr. Ennis, do we need to do this individually, or can we do it as a group?
I think if you wanted to go ahead and just do it as one motion, you can.
Okay, then would you
Obviously,
continue?
if there are issues.
Well, we'll let her read them all then, and thank you. Would you continue?
2, Cheryl Ikest, Tranquility Zone, 4585 Broadway, Sheffield Township, in the amount of $15,000 with 5 employees. Dorothy Vance, The Cottage, 2312 North Ridge Road, Sheffield Township, in the amount of $20,000 with 0 employees. Jerome Rush, Bread Analysis Family Daycare Center, Sheffield Township, in the amount of $20,000 with 9 employees. And Charlotta Anderson White, Pepper Red's Blues Cafe, 731 Broadway, Lorain, in the amount of $20,000 with 3 employees.
Mr. Twining, would you just care to briefly address the earlier meeting this morning?
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Ron Twining, Twining, and I'm the Community Development Director. With me today are some of the staff members and at least 3 of the candidates for the loan that was recommended this morning by the Oversight Committee and also by the Loan Review Committee for the Lorain County Area-Wide Microenterprise Loan Program, which we affectionately call LAMP. If you remember, this is a program that we are allowing up to $20,000 for small businesses, typically with 5 or fewer employees. We've been working on this project since early this year, and we have very happily today bring before the Board of Commissioners 5 loan programs, potential businesses, some that are already operating and some that are startup businesses, and we're recommending approval on all 5 of these. They are listed in the program. We think it's an outstanding start for Lorain County. This will bring our total to 7 loans to date that we will have given out. We now have exceeded, with the cooperation of the banks, we have gone over the $100,000 mark in the last 3 months in these loans. The businesses that are here are welcome to answer any questions if the commissioners have. If not, both the Loan Review and the Oversight Committee of LAMP are recommending approval by the Board of Commissioners.
Ron, Commissioner Moore suggested that you have them come forward so we can see who they are.
And maybe talk about what type of
They're prepared to give a 2-minute presentation on their proposal, if you'd like.
I think that would be
And
very
we'll start with
appropriate.
Jerome, because he had the most notification of that, so.
He found out 4 minutes ago, right?
Would you all come up? They're going to want you to spell your last name so they get it right on here.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jerome Rush, R-U-S-H, and I'm proposing to open up a 24-hour daycare center in Lorain, and it'll be the first one in Lorain County. They do have 24-hour daycare centers in Cleveland, but none in Lorain County, and I would like to be a pioneer
and opening up a 24-hour daycare center. The name of the daycare center will be Fred and Alicia's Family Daycare Center, named after my parents, and it will provide 24-hour daycare services to the public and the private sector.
Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you.
It's an excellent idea. It's probably really needed, too.
Thank you.
Good luck.
And who's next? Cheryl? Is it Cheryl Ix? Ix. Cheryl, she has something great to tell you about.
Yes, I imagine I'm going to see all of you soon. I've opened a relaxation. First of all, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. It's a wonderful place, and it's going to be a wonderful business, and everybody's going to benefit from it if they come in and see what it's all about. That's the main thing. I thank the LAMP program for allowing me to have the $15,000 loan. Thank you. This is a relaxation center, the only one of its kind that I think is within a 5-state radius. What I do is I offer aromatherapy, relaxation therapy, meditation, hydrotherapy, and also massotherapy for hands-on massage. They're qualified relaxation massotherapists. I came about this idea due to a work injury. I was basically disabled, brought down to part-time sedentary work status. Being a single mom and 2 kids, I didn't think I wanted to do that for the rest of my life, and I probably couldn't survive at doing that. So I decided to invent something that I feel benefited me in a pain clinic program, 25 to 30% reducing my pain level without medication. My hand just went. I wrote, and my fiance built and renovated, and it's up and running since May 23rd. And right now, after about 2.5 months, we've got 10 regular clients that come every week faithfully, and somebody new walking in the door every day. And like I said, after the meeting this morning, I'm going to see a few faces in there that are new again. So I just want to say thank you very much, and come and see me. It works. I mean, relaxation, your mind can do so many things if you exercise it, and that's my belief. Thank you.
And this is the Tranquility Zone at 4585 Broadway. And Cheryl's last name is spelled I-C-K-E-S. Thank you, Cheryl.
Good luck, Cheryl. Thank you.
Next, I believe we have Lillian Jackson. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good morning, Lillian.
Good morning.
Spell your last name for the camera.
Yes, my name is Lillian Jackson, Jackson, and I'm the owner of Something Natural. I'm a veteran in the beauty industry for about 30 years, and I decided to go forth and open up a braid shop because braids have become very, very popular around the world. So braiding is for everybody and anybody to have fun, or it's a convenience too for some mothers that don't have time to get up and mess with the hair a lot, and so you can wear it for a few weeks or a couple months or so. Also, I'm ready to expand the business now. Thank you very much for the loan, where I could become a continued education provider for different stylists. Also, the state has just allowed different salons to take part in apprenticeship, where we could get students to come right in from school and, get the on-the-job training. So I intend to do this. Also, to be able to carry the products, the maintenance products for the braids or the dreads right there in the salon, which we need because I have to order it from like New York or Chicago, different places. So now I'll be able to supply the clients. I go on and on, but I just want to thank you so much again.
Thank you, Lillian. And next, then, we have Dorothy Vance.
Good luck to you, too, Lillian.
Thank you.
Could you spell your last name?
Yeah. Dorothy Vance, V like in Victor, A-N-C-E. And I, about 1.5 years ago, opened a flea market, and now have had the opportunity to expand to a gift and craft shop. The craft shop will feature local people with their crafts. I'm also going to have a small tea room so people can sit down and think about their purchases. The hours will be from noon till 8 to provide for the working public. I didn't think there was much sense of being open 8 to 5 when everybody's working and nobody can come in. So, and I want to thank the commissioners for the opportunity to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. And the fifth
Good luck, Dorothy.
applicant is for the Pepper Reds Blues Cafe at 731 Broadway, and she is not here.
That's correct. And I would like to also acknowledge on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, Melanie Long and Rebecca Gray from our staff, your staff, that have worked probably at least 90 days on these 5 loans and brought them to a successful conclusion.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, it's Rebecca Jones, Mr. Twining, who's on your staff, not Rebecca Gray.
Sorry.
She didn't hear that, did she? Oh, you want a picture? Well, also move for approval.
Second.
Further discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
And you wanted a picture now, is that the deal? Okay, hurry up, let's get a picture. That's a great idea. Why don't you all come up here, then we won't have to move.
Behind you?
Yes, yes. You
want
stand
them- no, I
behind
want
me.
her
No,
behind me. I
no, you
want
stand
her.
behind me, Cheryl. I get the tranquility. I need it today. Where are you, Melanie?
Yes, Melanie.
Well, now who's taking the picture?
Somebody's gonna...
She's,
Well, now we can't have a picture without a camera.
Where's
I think
Kathy?
she already took a picture and left.
yeah.
Well, I guess they don't want our picture.
I run a tight ship. She had to go back to work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's not allowed to come till after work.
Hopefully, all your businesses will expand real soon, and you'll be able to come back for the revolving loan funds.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
I have no reports today.
Mr. Ennis, County
No report.
Administrator? Commissioners report.
Commissioner Vacy?
Yeah, Jim, I have a question, a couple of them here. NACO, on the collection of fees and fines and outstanding debts for the county, we're going to look into that?
Yes, I have the information from NACO. I have the information from some additional information was provided by another commissioner, and we are evaluating the information now. Probably within the next couple of weeks, we'll have something to bring back to the board.
Okay, and what about Green Acres? Where are we at with the Boys and Girls Club?
I talked to Bill County earlier this week. We are collecting data, trying to attempt to figure out how much it's going to cost to run that facility. Utilities, maintenance, things like lawn care, upkeep. We need to come up with a dollar value so that we can work with the Boys and Girls Club to let them know exactly what it's going to cost them to be in that building. Not necessarily rent, but the upkeep and maintenance and operational costs of the facility. It's quite a large facility, and we're getting those numbers together. And I talked to Bill on Tuesday and told him I would be getting back with him by week's end. We're progressing slowly but nicely. The Boys and Girls Club, they don't want to move into the building until next spring, late next spring, either way. So there is no urgency.
So that building is going to be vacant until next spring?
Right. My last meeting with them, we had about a 3-hour meeting in my office, and they indicated to me that they're not prepared to want to move in until next spring. So
What about some of the other agencies that they were looking at?
they had
moving in
talked.
with?
They had some initial dialogue with Licata about possibly opening a small preventive alcohol and drug preventative service there. They've also had dialogue with the county health department about locating some services with them that they provide to the youth of the county. Those issues are on their side of the table. I understand that they're pursuing those.
But do these other agencies need to wait until next spring also?
The only way I believe those other agencies would come into Green Acres is if the Boys and Girls Club were there. They would be providing services to the clients of the Boys and Girls Club. And I'm not sure that we've really reached any meeting of the mind as to whether we would contract for space with those entities, or the Boys and Girls Club would contract with us for all the space and then subcontract with those agencies for the space. That work is still in the very early preparatory stage. But it is ongoing. I didn't put a real sense of urgency on this because of their desire not to move in until next spring. I mean, dialogue is still ongoing. I don't want you to think that this issue is lost any momentum. It hasn't.
Well, I've talked with them, but I've never heard them say that they weren't prepared to move in there until next spring.
I will readdress that issue with them once again, but I have quite a bit of clarity on this, and I'm certain that that's their position.
Okay, and are we prepared to make decisions in regards to the use of some of the present facilities for future occupancy and the cost of renovation for these facilities?
Which facilities would those be, Ms. Vacy?
Other ones that will be vacant when the Justice Center goes up?
Well, we really haven't had that dialogue with the board. I know you've asked to have an open dialogue on those issues.
And we've got Stepping Stone over there, for example, that's empty.
Correct. Stepping Stone's been empty, longer than Green Acres. That facility is going to be available. The Green Acres issue hopefully will be resolved with the Boys and Girls Club. We're going to have some vacant buildings in downtown. We're also going to have space in this building. Until we Well,
I think we're at the point that we know what departments are going into the Justice Center.
That's correct.
So I think it's about time we look into the future and find out what we're going to do with the vacant facilities and get the renovation costs for those facilities.
Okay, we had a meeting this week concerning the train station with some representatives from the City of Elyria, Lorain County Transit, Commissioner Moore was there, talking with a company about possibly assisting LCT with the renovation of the building, and they're going to be offering us a proposal for the board's consideration and LCT's consideration on that. And I did get some update information from LCT on where they're at and pursuing grant money. I'll share that with the board this week, what I received. Once the proposals come in on the train station, I'll also be sharing that with the board. I anticipate having that within the next 2 weeks. Right now, the Stepping Stone building is being used as a county warehouse for various items that we have to store between auctions of county property by law. The J.C. Penney building is still being used to house equipment that wasn't removed out. We're getting rent money on that. The only other issue I'm aware of would be the fifth floor in this building that'll become vacated. It's my understanding that the fourth floor here will be totally taken over by the Lorain County Board of Commissioners with their departments, and that the third floor will be totally taken over by Children's Services. Also, Children's Services is in the process of working with the St. Joe's Community Development Corporation and locating office space in the city of Lorain at the old St. Joe's building. So that leaves us what I believe the fifth floor of this building. And I don't know that...
Fifth floor, we still have to decide what we're going to do with J.C. Penney building and Stepping Stone.
Well, one of them has to be partially a warehouse for county property. The J.C. Penney building is situated in a good position to accomplish that goal. However, if the train station progresses ahead, which it's looking more and more like it's going to with grant money, and it doesn't look like it's going to need much general fund capital at all, that building was eventually designed to be torn down for additional parking for the train station because of its location very closely very closely located to the train station. So that would allow us to still use Stepping Stone as a warehouse.
I don't know if I would agree with J.C. Penney's being torn down.
Well, I think that's something for future study. So we've got a brief overview of some of the items that you've asked about. And I think it appears that we're going to be continuing to work on those. Are you have other items, Commissioner Basin?
That's all I have, thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Moore, you have anything?
Yeah, I always have something, you know.
Well, good.
Okay. I'd like to thank Jerry Ennis for some of his opinions regarding our meetings that we've had, which we've only had 8 this year. And there seems to be some issues regarding our meetings, whether or not they're legal or illegal. I'll stand by Jerry Ennis's opinion that I believe they are legal, that what we've done. But to take the cloud over this issue, I don't have a problem meeting on Thursdays if we're going to have administrative sessions, so that maybe discussions such as the Justice Center's budgets, maybe the buildings where we can have a discussion on what we're going to do with the buildings we could do, or maybe the sewer issues or any other issues that might take a couple hours when we bring in the directors of each department. Instead of doing it in this forum, use our administrative sessions on Thursdays. And I was recommending maybe every Thursday at after our meetings, we call it an executive session, and then at maybe 1 o'clock every Thursday, we have our administrative meeting here, where we're not up here up here on the podium. We're down there with our directors, getting the information, open to the public if they wish to attend, but no public input to help us unless we ask for it. No public coming up to the podium. I'm looking at more to see if they wish to come in and see how we operate and see how we make decisions. Then I don't have a problem with the public coming in and watching that process. But that's kind of the idea I had, in which to maybe take this so-called cloud that the media seems to have put over our office. If that's an idea that we should pursue, I mean, I've talked about it. I didn't know if it's something that would be interested in the other two commissioners, or...
Well, I think you're talking about a public work session, not a public meeting.
Correct.
Okay, so, I mean, there is a distinction. We wouldn't be taking any input whatsoever from the public. They'd just be able to observe the workings of the board, correct?
Right. That's kind of what I was looking at, so that, because if we were to invite the public to speak, we could be here for a couple days regarding any issue. And so if that was something that would be appropriate for the commissioners to meet on every Thursday at 1 o'clock, and if we happen to run over with maybe hypothetically an annexation issue that might come up in August, then maybe we wait 90 minutes after our close of our meeting to have that session. So at least we're consistent when we have our meetings. So that was an idea that I had, and was wondering if that would be appropriate, if you guys would like to.
You're not calling this a public meeting?
No. Our work sessions will be held in the public view, but I'm not asking for public input at these meetings. It's our work sessions, in which the public, the media, the public can attend like they're here. The only difference is we're out in our like we do in the other room. We're on a conference table. Our desk, our papers are everywhere. We're trying to get as much information as we can to make the decisions. It's pretty much what we're doing now. We're just inviting people. If they want to attend, they can. If they don't, that's fine, because I think after about 3 visits, they're going to realize they're not going to be attending these meetings because they're not that exciting. Not as exciting as not as exciting as these meetings. I can tell you that.
Yes, they are. They're all exciting.
Well, it's more data gathering, and it's more getting the information so we can make our decisions on Thursdays. So I just felt, since we're all here on Thursdays, if we have them either at 1 o'clock every Thursday, we schedule our admin session. And if Mr. Cortez doesn't feel that we need all 3 of us so he can give us updates on everything, or maybe the directors could come in, then that would be up to either the 3 of us or Mr. Cortez to decide.
Well,
I mean, does that make sense, or?
Obviously, the directors and myself are agreeable to whatever the board's desires are.
Yeah, you're backing out of that one, aren't you? Yes.
Yes. The only issue that was raised would be the days that we have public hearings on annexation, so forth. Today, we would have to be very flexible in the day, because we sometimes stack those things up pretty late into the afternoon. So we'd have to watch our time schedules. Madam Clerk would have to advise us accordingly.
As long as it doesn't cut into our lunch break, because you know how cranky I can get when I don't eat.
I'll bring you a power bar and some Gatorade.
Well, I think someone did that before. They put a little piece of chocolate in here, just to keep me going.
Any further comments?
No, I just wondered. No, I mean, I don't think it's something we need to make a motion on or anything like that. I mean, is that something?
Well, this would be a procedural issue. You would just direct me and the clerk to schedule those things.
No.
Well,
I can't direct 2 other commissioners. This is something that the 3 of us have to agree on.
You don't need a resolution to do
Right.
this. If it's agreeable to the board, the clerk and I will work on scheduling these issues.
So I
Can
guess
we have time to think about it?
Oh, yeah, that's sure. Oh. You want to say that louder, or no? Is that
If you you want to make sure that you're complying with all kinds of any of the notice requirements that you might want to do, you may want to do it by resolution, so there's something on record that says this is when we meet, and you don't have to get concerned with having to give special notices or anything
really?
out.
So if we have a
you may consider wanting to go ahead and do that by resolution.
Well,
at
and we
some point.
have established meeting times by
Right.
previous
Right.
resolution, and they were not Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock. And I have
Right.
no objection if the board wants to work in this fashion, that's fine, but I think sometimes we don't need to be, well, you mentioned the newspaper. The criticism came from one newspaper.
I know.
And I think that sometimes we don't need to react to the criticisms. We can't react to everybody's criticisms. And I think I heard you say that you believe we'd acted appropriately.
Correct.
And I believe we've acted appropriately also. And I'm willing to work with the board in however you want to do that, but we cannot possibly come here and in 2 hours have all the information that we need to make decisions on these items. And these things need to be worked through, and we need to be up to date on what is being before us. So whether it's Tuesday or Thursday, I'm willing to work in whatever form the entire board decides is most appropriate. But I don't like it when we're reactive instead of proactive, and I think
Correct.
this is
Oh, I
a
agree.
reactive measure.
Wouldn't this just be an extension of a regular meeting?
No.
Well-
We already have our scheduled meetings that we've passed by resolution, correct? For
At
Tuesday-
9:30,
For
but-
Tuesdays?
Correct.
For Tuesdays, you're saying Thursday. You would just...
All I'm doing, just mention it, try to get it all in one
Yeah,
day
but
since
you're
we're all
saying
here.
on Thursday, so what's the difference if we just extend our meeting, leave here, go down there and discuss?
I think the only issue with that would be, it would be that would be a meeting where it would be a public meeting, and the public could have input into
The
what you're
public
doing.
only is a permitted input, if I understand Mr. Ennis's previous discussion and rulings with me. This is, it says, "The objective of such meetings is the same as any corporate board meeting, that is, to complete the formal legal steps necessary to authorize and conduct government business. It differs from the private business world only that in the meetings must be open to the public in order that they may observe and, quote, stay informed about how government operates and how their tax money is spent." The public is permitted to comment when we invite their comments. But if we stipulate that this is not a meeting where public comment is to be taken, then it's for them to come in and observe how we are doing their work. Am I correct, Jerry?
Yes, Commissioner, and I think the point that Commissioner Moore wants to make is it's been our general practice in these morning meetings to invite public comment, and I think he wants to get it out front ahead of every time. Ahead of time and let everybody know the purpose of these sessions would be to gather information, and it is not a general commentary type thing, that you're inviting people in to get the information from them, and that's what the purpose of these meetings is going to be.
In other words, what we would be doing here is what we have been doing in what we consider legitimately, and we didn't have any public input because there was no public there, so it would allow them to see what we're doing.
Right.
So basically, nothing would change. It just, if they want to come watch how exciting it can be, they can. So we could keep it at Tuesday. I was just trying to irritate the media because they'd have to be here all day long. And I thought, well, since they're making it, I thought not they're making us, because there's no way I'd fold for that. But I just thought I'd irritate them a little bit, make them be here all day long. So we don't have to, if it's a convenience factor, if you'd rather do it on a Tuesday at 9 to 9:30, that would be fine.
No,
too.
and I'm willing to do it either way. It doesn't matter to me. I'm willing to do whatever the majority of the board wants. Thursdays sounds good. And Commissioner Bass, do you have a problem with Thursdays? Thursday's not convenient for you?
I imagine I could, I don't know, let me think about it.
Okay, while you're taking it under consideration, may I recommend, if you're going to do it by resolution, that you convene a predetermined amount of time after the conclusion of regular boards. This way, it wouldn't be 1 o'clock. It would be 90, like you suggested, it sounded good, 90 minutes after the conclusion of regular board meeting. The board will reconvene for that work session.
Okay.
This way,
Or 1 o'clock, whichever's later.
right. This way, it can float, and we don't have to continually change the resolution.
Right. So you're going to work on that too?
I suppose...
When we determine what we're going to do, you're going to see that it's properly worded. And then
I suppose...
we'll bring it before this board and we'll make an official resolution.
I'm turning the mic off now.
Great idea. You can't go to the Tranquility Place yet, though. You have to wait till after you're done working today.
I don't think she's here anymore anyway. That's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you. And I will just comment that next Friday, a week from tomorrow, August 3rd, I believe the date is, the Lorain County Community Alliance will be meeting at the very new Patsy Campana Engineering facility building at Lorain County Community College. And we will be updated on the GLIDE program. We will be presented by the personnel involved with GLIDE, and this is a wonderful building at Lorain County Community College, and it's kind of a sneak preview because they are not even having their open house until the following week. So anyone who would like to attend the Alliance meeting at 9 o'clock on Friday, August the 3rd is welcome to attend. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you continue?
Old business?
I have none.
May I say something about what you were discussing, please?
Do we know you?
Well, I'll tell you my name.
Oh, Shirley, of course we know you. Yes, ma'am?
Shirley R. Johnson, Oberlin. I'd like to speak to the discussion you were having on the open meeting law and so on. I have not seen Mr. Ennis's response to the request for an opinion on what you were doing on Tuesdays. I'm sorry that you would feel that improving on what you were doing is just a reaction to the newspaper. I think you should be happy that the newspaper raised the questions that it did about it. I'm sorry that I didn't raise them before they did. You are being funny, I know, Mr. Moore, in saying that it would be irritating to make the newspapers have to be here for a long day. It will be irritating to others of us, too, who might like to be here. I hope that you would feel and understand the importance of being open to the public and having the public trust you. It's true that you do not have to listen to us, and I appreciate the fact that you do that. But it's in your interest, too, as well as to the interest of all the people that elected you and even the ones that didn't vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley, for your comments. I would just like to say that I strongly believe in the public's right to know. But as you well know, as being a regular attendee here, there are some items that are discussed here that you never see in the printed media because they have a lack of space and they don't print all the things that we talk about. So I believe the public has a right to know everything we do. But how do we get this to the public if the news media does not print it? That's one of the reasons why we televise these meetings, and I've heard from some people that they consider them, one, entertaining. So some people have said you have a lot of fun there. Other people consider them very boring. But there is a lot of detail that goes along with this job. And while the newspaper has a right to criticize, and I respect their right to criticize, I also think that the public's right to know, they just don't get it all through the newspaper, nor will they ever. And that's just my point I'd like to make.
Well, I appreciate it.
Okay, again, Madam Clerk, where were we?
Under old business, do you have any further old
Oh, no.
business?
And I have none,
Okay.
except what we're going to talk about here.
That's what I thought.
Authorized appointment of Barbara Schraub to the Lorain County Fair Housing Board to fill the unexpired term of Patricia Robinette, who resigned. This term is effective July 12, 2001, expiring February 21st, 2004.
Before we make a motion, I would like to ask Mr. Twining if he could address the number of people on this board and our ability to increase it, if that's a prospect or an available prospect.
This is a board that was established originally, or supposed to be established back in 1976. It was actually established last year. Appointments were made the spring of this year. There were to be 3 members appointed. 2 are there presently. The third one was appointed and has resigned, so you're looking to appoint a replacement for that resignation.
Is there the possibility to expand this board from 3 individuals? I guess that's my question.
That's correct. It can be expanded. You'd have to change the original resolution by amendment, but you could expand that.
Okay, and that was a resolution established by us?
By the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Twining.
There's no regulation that I'm aware of by the state that regulates the size.
Thank you.
So moved.
Further discussion? Oh, I'm
Second.
sorry, excuse me. No, there's no second.
I'll second.
Now, discussion? Ms. Vacy? Aye. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Allocate funds not to exceed $60,000 to Lorain County Historical Society to assist in the county's participation in the bicentennial as permitted by ORC 307.23. The Commissioners will be taking an active approach to commemorate our history and should join the Historical Society in accomplishing this task.
Last week, we heard from Bill Bird, who is the Executive Director, and George Strom, the President of Lorain County Historical Society. And I believe Commissioner Vacy asked for more information, and it was faxed over late yesterday. I also supplied Mr. Twining with a copy of their request because there's a historical preservation piece that his department was interested in working on with the Historical Society. Have you had a chance to review that, and can you comment, Mr. Twining?
Thank you again, Commissioners. Our department is working on a multitude of things, and this is one that we feel directly gets back to the quality of life as we're creating jobs in Lorain County and looking for appropriate growth and appropriate development. Certainly, we need to be mindful that we have to preserve the culture that was Lorain County, preserve its records for posterity's sake, and the history is critical. So our department was, through the majority of this year, as an indirect result of the land use plan, working on 3 initiatives on our own. The first one was to support the effort of the Lorain County Historical Society in establishing a grant program to make funds available from the county general fund to local and county historical societies. We think that that's critical for the long run for Lorain County, especially in terms of the culture and history that we have here. The second thing that we have been working on is an effort to assist and serve on a bicentennial committee. As you know, Lorain County was established in 1824, but its first inhabitants moved to Lorain County either in 1787 for a few days or 1807, and Lorain County has had a rich history. So we really want to participate on a countywide effort for the bicentennial celebration as the state celebrates its 200th birthday. The third item that we're working on is the one that would involve us and the historical societies most, as well as downtown organizations, in our opinions, and that is to update a 25-year-old report called Preserving Our Past. That document provides text and photographs of structures and sites listed on the national registers. It also lists structures lost and structures endangered. It will give factual information on property owners with historic structures as to how they can get financial assistance to preserve their structures. We're very excited about working with the historical groups on this effort. Those are the 3 initiatives that we all along have worked on this year. I think that it is great. While I have not talked directly to Mr. Byrd, his proposal, I would strongly support his request for $60,000 and would offer on behalf of the Department of the Board of County Commissioners that any assistance that you would so wish us to provide to that organization or those bodies, that we do that. As we look at Lorain County, we see the efforts of the County Historical Society. We see places like the Spirit of 76 Museum, historical societies in almost all of our townships. The most noted, probably in my opinion, Columbia, Brownhelm, my dearly beloved Huntington Township. They all have historical societies. The Oberlin Historic Improvement Organization has also done an outstanding job for the county, and you know, I would like to go on record as supporting this request for assistance to the Board of County Commissioners for this important issue. 200 years from now, I think people will want to look back and see what all of us in this room today and all of us in Lorain County did during the year 2003, and I think this is an important issue at this point.
Thank you, Ron. Board have any further questions or comments regarding this matter?
Somebody yesterday gave me something they found dug up in their backyard, the Lorain County, Ohio Sesquicentennial. I'm having a problem speaking here. That's the 150th anniversary. I don't know if the Historical Society had anything to do with this coin or with the Lorain County 150th anniversary or not. Did you guys? Yeah. Okay. Well, this is the treasures you can find in Lorain County. So it was a nice piece that I got yesterday. So I thought it was appropriate to bring it in. So
what is the pleasure of the board regarding this request then?
Well, it's the same for me. I'm happy with the appropriations that they provided in writing.
Okay, you want to make a motion to approve?
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve. I'm not going to read this, but the appropriation here, I'll just say so moved. How's that? And we can staple this to the motion. How's that? Is that appropriate?
I'll second.
Okay.
Further discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appoint Nancy Parker as member to the Workforce Investment Board.
I understand that a bio has been provided, so I will so move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Number 4 is discussions on the budget for the Justice Center.
I wasn't clear on what that is.
This has been held for...
I think it was your item that you've asked to be carried forward.
Are we prepared to discuss it?
I didn't bring anything with me, but this is your continuing item, so...
I think there was some worksheets that Ms. Vacy passed out a few weeks ago. I was trying to be kind.
Remember, we allowed some people to go on vacation, Commissioner Vacy.
That's right. That's right. I think you still have the glow from the tan, Commissioner.
It wasn't it wasn't here.
Dealt with some specific items in the budget that we may have been able to redirect some funds from to the Justice Center, just to refresh the board's thinking on this issue.
But I think that we've been continuing to work with Mr. Rokasi on these items, and I think that in the budget preparation for next year, we're going to have some more expanded information to work on. So I don't know. I think we've been continuing to do this, although perhaps not officially, in a sit-down session. I think that we've been working on that. Is that not correct?
Yes, well, the budget's a live process, so it's always being reviewed. What I may suggest then is we either have this session and do it, or we stop carrying it on the agenda, so that we know what we're doing with this issue. We cannot continue to carry it. We're either going to sit down and do it out here, or we're going to let the budget process move along as it has, and then we're going to remove it from whole business.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I put the piece together. I mean, it took me some time to do that. I'd like to see us review it. But it's apparent that you're not prepared to review it today, and I don't know when you're going to be prepared. So it just lingers on, so it's up to you.
Yeah. Talk about it next week. You're talking about the document you prepared with.
Correct.
Would you want to talk about that in open session?
Of course.
So we can talk about it next Thursday, I guess.
Okay.
It's next Thursday, the 4th? Second?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, well, will you make sure it's docketed?
You be ready, Mr. Rokasi?
Yes.
Thank you, John. Okay. New business?
New business?
Anyone?
I have none.
Okay.
Other than what's noted, the Board of Commissioners will recess into an executive session at the conclusion of today's board meeting to discuss personnel, new hires, disciplinary actions, and litigation issues.
I also want to expand that to include discussion of possible purchase of real estate.
A little louder next time. I could hear.
Include the possible purchase of real estate.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cordes. I move the board correspondence reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy? Aye. We have now moved on to public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board? Lillian, Elizabeth, excuse me.
Elizabeth Rumics, R-U-M-I-C-S, Oberlin. Just a couple of comments. One, in last month, early in June, Oberlin's Race Relations Committee and other groups sponsored a community picnic which was held at the Spring Street Shelter. And I was very impressed with how attractive that area is and the shelter itself. And since there was this little memo about it in today's agenda, I just thought I would like to pass along that that was very nicely done and much appreciated by all of the people who came to the picnic, even though the weather was nice. On the matter of your administrative sessions, I assume, but would like to underline, that you would consider the needs and the schedules of the department heads. And is it advisable to have some or all tied up all day long on a Thursday, or better to have it split, or whatever? I don't know. But as I say, I assume, but would like to underline that you would take that into consideration, not only for their benefit, but for the carrying on of the other routine business of the county, of course. In the case of the newspapers, I think there was a good exchange of complaints and criticisms back and forth, which is all very, very healthy. I would, however, like to say that in past, I don't notice it so much now, but in the past, it seemed to me that between the coverage of items, certain items, that came before the commissioners or were of interest to the county were covered quite differently by the two newspapers. And by and large, it seemed to me that the Chronicle's coverage tended to be a little bit more fair in certain instances than did that of the Journal. As I say, however, I'm not noticing that so much anymore, so that's all to the good. But so it is.
It's probably because they have a new reporter and Phil is doing such a great job. And with respect to your comments about the department heads, I think that if we go this route, we will do scheduling so that they have an idea of what time we expect them to appear.
We do that now. We only have the department heads that we need ready to come to the session. So we do that now.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Paul Bellamy, and I'm with the Lorain County Reinvestment Coalition.
Good morning, Mr. Bellamy.
I'd like to take this opportunity to fill in the board on an ongoing issue that actually dates back to March of 1998, when the board was a signatory to a reinvestment agreement with First Merit Bank. The Lorain County Reinvestment Coalition is now 3 years into this agreement, also as a party to the agreement. And we are concerned that the letter and spirit of that agreement is not being complied with by the bank. Under the terms of the agreement, First Merit had agreed to increase lending and enhance the quality of life for the people living and working in Lorain County. Unfortunately, we don't think that has come to pass. We are now 3 years into a 5-year agreement, and what we have noted from the records that are available on lending through the federal government's Home Mortgage Disclosure Act is that lending has in fact decreased. It should be noted that First Merit controls 1/3 of the deposits in this county. That's a substantial chunk of change, about $850 million. And that's essentially what the community gives to the bank, with the expectation that the bank will give back in the form of loans and investments. But if you look at the two predecessor banks that controlled that money back in 1994, that was Elyria Savings and Trust and Premier Bank, same basic 1/3 of the county's deposits. In exchange for that, those two banks together made 1,352 loans in 1994. In 1999, the date, most recent date for which we're available, we can get the information, First Merit, with the same deposits, made 503 loans. The market share of the two predecessor banks in 1994 on all loans in the county, this is home mortgage loans now, was 14%. First Merit is now down to 4%. That's not the only issue, but that's certainly the most substantial one. Other issues are closed branches. At its height, the EST and Premier banks together controlled 50 branches in the county. First Merit has closed 27 of those 50 branches, and we're down to 23. Again, service has been cut tremendously as a result of those branch closings. Another fact which may be of interest to the commissioners is that in September of 1994, immediately following the merger that was the subject of this reinvestment agreement, Premier Bank and First Merit together employed 408 people full-time in Lorain County. In September of 2000, 2 years later, First Merit has cut or transferred those staff down to 84. That is to say that for every 5 employees, we're now down to 1. Other issues have to do with how First Merit has decided, like most other banks, to increase fee income simultaneous without improving lending or service. And if you look at the annual reports of First Merit Bank, you will see that they in fact brag to their shareholders that they have taken fee income from 22% of revenues up to 30% of revenues. In Lorain County, that roughly translates to $4 million, just skimmed off the top of deposits. Another major issue as far as we are concerned as a reinvestment coalition is comparing the deposits that Lorain County gives to the bank in exchange for what it gets back in lending, and look at that ratio and compare it with other counties in the area. And what you see is that there is a sprawl phenomena going on, where First Merit Bank takes minimal deposits from Medina, Lake, and Portage County, but does much more lending in those counties than it does in Lorain, where it takes a substantial amount of deposits. It's essentially a wealth and capital transfer without any compensation to the residents of Lorain County. We see these as very major issues. Finally, the Commission may not be aware that First Merit does mobile home lending, a substantial amount of mobile home lending. Not under the name of First Merit, but under the name of a wholly owned subsidiary called Mobile Consultants, Inc. Now that subsidiary is a rather large portion of the business that First Merit does. In fact, 11% of their loan portfolio now for the entire bank is in mobile homes, which is not nearly so alarming as the fact that in 1999, they did 6,000 mobile home loans. How many were done in Lorain County? 3. $293 million, most of which is leaving not just Lorain County, not just Northern Ohio, but the whole state of Ohio. The mobile home lender is a national lender, but they're using our deposits to essentially finance trailers in Albuquerque, Waukesha, wherever. Bottom line, we want to make a public statement that we are in an ongoing situation of alleging a breach of the reinvestment agreement in both its letter and spirit, and we have not received a satisfactory answer from First Merit to date. The other issue that I wanted to take this opportunity to suggest is that there is a provision under the Ohio Revised Code for the county to look at where it makes its deposits. And I'm talking now about Chapter 135. And at least under the statute, and I have not had a chance to investigate how this works in Lorain County, there's provision for a county investment advisory committee. And it's up to that committee to make recommendations as to what public depositories get the county's money. Now, I have no idea whether this county actually has deposits with First Merit, but if they do, I would like to suggest that this vehicle be used to evaluate whether that should remain the case. Our feeling is that the money, and like I say, it's $850 million, that the residents of Lorain County give to the bank need to be matched by investments back into the community, and that's not happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellamy. Just as a point of information, we do have an investment advisory committee which meets quarterly.
Okay.
The 3 commissioners, the treasurer, and the clerk of courts are members of that committee.
I'll be following up with correspondence. Thank you, Commissioner.
Dr. Ballard, are you coming forward to make a comment? Oh, you got up. I thought.
Had an emergency. It's resolved.
Bob Kish.
What I just heard was very interesting. And it's so along the line that I've been concerned about. And even the Lorain this Justice Building. We went into value engineering. Now we've just heard a little bit about value banking. what value are we getting out of some of the purchases? And we talked about using local materials, and we got into, we're not using sandstone on the exterior of this Justice Building. But bothers,
We are using
well,
some.
I believe we are too.
There we are.
Yes, we are.
We are?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I heard we were talking about some brick material, we're gonna use a larger brick
We
material.
are, but we are also using some sandstone.
Bob, just for your own edification, that's interior brick we're talking about. The sandstone makeup of the exterior of the building hasn't been changed.
Okay, so what we were talking about here earlier is basically between the newspapers, what we're hearing, what we're not hearing. We're not hearing a lot, and I think this is what she was talking about. This is what I've been talking about. We have no idea what's going on in this building. I just heard more about that than I've heard anywhere in the newspapers or anything else. I was very intrigued by an article in the Plain Dealer on January 24th, 2001. It had to do with competition for the design of the youth center, Substitute Justice Center. There was a time when government agencies built some of the most impressive and lasting buildings around. This was written by Stephen Litt. These days, design contracts for public buildings often go to architects with the best political connections, not the best ideas. A lot is at stake. So far, the process is fair and open. In Cuyahoga County, they mailed announcements to 215 firms, mostly from within Northeast Ohio. They got responses, a panel, and they wound up with a panel of 23 people. I'm just cutting a lot of this out because you don't want to hear all of it. And including local architects, government officials, and community representatives, and they're ranking their proposal. And they're open to the public. So the public has, much like Elyria schools are doing. It had meetings where the public can attend, not just at these sessions. I realize your time is limited, but so is the public's. They're working. In the foreword to the Lorain County Administration Handbook, we'd like more people to attend. I just like more people to be able to attend. And we talked about meetings at different hours, Mr. Moore had earlier. I don't know how you could get more people in there during the working day. I don't think it can be done. But there are I'd just like to see more input from more people from Lorain County, not just the very select few. They've talked about 5 commissioners. Sometimes I think the idea of 3 commissioners is no good. With 1 commissioner.
Which one should we get rid of?
Don't answer. Now there is the question.
Don't answer.
That is the question. We're just going to take over an entire floor for commissioners in this building? It seems excessive to me. I don't know.
Sometimes I wonder if you're the commissioner, you know?
Nah, I don't know. Like I say, one big thing, and I liked Harry Truman for that. There's only one president. He said the buck stops here.
But the law didn't allow for 3 presidents. Unfortunately, we operate under the Ohio Revised Code, which says there are 3 commissioners. That's established by law.
Okay.
I mean, we're creatures of statute.
Now, the commissioners in the past decided that they were going to buy land out on Murray Ridge Road, and we're going to build some of these buildings, which we're trying to squeeze a justice center into a town that I don't think fits it any longer. It did.
Bob, we've already had that discussion.
Yeah, I know. We're putting 10 pounds of shavings in a 5-pound bag.
No, but we've already had that discussion, okay? And I've talked to you both publicly and privately about that. So can we move on to other concerns that you have, or are you finished with your remarks?
What I liked about this is the designs will be judged on how frugal they are with energy and how they incorporate green designs, covering. But then we get into another one right here, and this has to do with Chardon, and they're talking about their Justice Courthouse Center. They want to go underground, but then they decided they don't know who owns the land, whether it's the city or the county,
Well,
which is
there's
unique.
always problems to be resolved.
But what I was getting at in this, the city of Elyria says no parking on curb lawns, and the county has, right at the courthouse, parking on what I consider a curb lawn. So you've got 2 entities, and here's where Mr. Twining gets smashed. I'm not smashing him, but I can see where he gets caught between 2 groups, 2 government entities, one of which wants one thing, one wants the other, and he's supposed to, I think, he's working towards smoothing this out as best he can.
And he does it so well.
Yeah.
But I would want to be in his shoes.
What is the moral here?
The moral is basically that we've got government that doesn't even cooperate with itself, and leave the public out, I think.
I disagree with you. I thoroughly disagree with you.
Well, that was my feeling on it, and like I
Well,
say.
you're entitled to your opinion. I guess I'm
It's-
entitled to mine, and I thoroughly disagree with you.
Well, that's very good. But it just, the difference in the way they went about building, or are going about building a building in the Cuyahoga County with commissioners, the same thing, getting more public input, more professional input, I think is a value of government, as opposed to value engineering.
Thank you for your comments, Bob. Anybody else who'd like to address the board this morning? Bill Bird and George Strom from the Historical Society.
Hi, Bill Bird, BIRD, Lorain County Historical Society. I just want to offer public thanks to the commissioners and also to Mr. Twining for the appropriate comments. And we really are thrilled that you supported our proposal and looking very forward to working together for the betterment of Lorain County in terms of cultural and historical issues. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
I too would like to second that, and I can assure the commissioners that every cent of that money will be carefully spent.
Would you
I
be
think
sending us reports?
We will, yes, we certainly will.
And if you work through the Community Development Department, that'll add a flavor of economic development to it as far as I'm concerned. And I think it is economic development. I really do.
We view it that way as well, and I also, my thanks to Ron Twining for his comments.
Thank you, Mr. Strom. Anyone else in the audience? Seeing no one, I move we adjourn into executive session for the purposes as outlined. Do you want to set a time? You don't want to go now, or?
No, we can go now. That's fine.
Okay. Sure.
I think Jeff said it'll only take 10 minutes, so I'll second.
I don't think so.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'll second it, I guess.
Discussion. Blair.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Ms. Vacy. Aye.
And then we'll come back out here to adjourn.
better use for them than we would. They're lovely photos, thank you.
Are these everyone that stepped down? 'Cause there's a lot, seems to be some turnover.
These
going
are,
on.
these are the current members, and we are working on new members because we have to have 51% be part of it, businesses. This was the most recent list that I received when I went to a meeting at the ETA. So this name was submitted to us prior to that, and she did attend the meeting Wednesday, and I think that she ought to be have official status, and we will continue to work on those names. Frank DeTelio submitted a letter as the...
That was on yesterday.
That's my memo.
Yeah.
There's no bio there.
Oh, there's no-
I didn't even include the letter. The letter we received a couple weeks ago. I'd just like to have her be established as a member so that we can move on and keep our almost 51% current. This is not a final list, but have I sold you on that yet?
I'd like to see a bio.
I'm not sure she submitted a bio. I think that she probably volunteered. She is the Group Human Resources Director for Care Corporation. We are soliciting support from private businesses on this council, and sometimes it's hard to get people to come.
Oh, I know.
And so she's volunteered, and not only that, she showed up. So I think we ought to...
You asked for a bio on my person.
I know,
I'd like
that's
to
what I'm
see
saying.
one there.
I know. Trying to be fair.
Yes,
I mean, is
I
that
know.
okay? I mean, I'm trying
That's
to be...
what I want. Fairness.
Oh, Jay.
That's okay. You put me on the spot on this one.
I
mean, you said
certainly
you could do this,
intended to.
and
You
I-
want me to go on with the whole report?
No, not
Come
the
on.
report, but...
Well, you know, they've got business to do, and we've asked them to do it. We need to give them a board.
I'm not saying I'm not gonna, you know...
Well, so then second the motion.
No, I got
Gee,
No, I'm on the spot. I put you on the spot last week. This is what you do. You put
that's
me back
right.
to me.
Turnabout's fair play. I mean, gee whiz, for this volunteer position to go to 7:30 in the morning.
Oh, man. I'm glad you brought the stress ball with me.
You want to use mine, too?
Can we wait a week? I mean, you know.
You can do whatever you want. You're a
I'll wait till I get a
commissioner.
bio. Oh, well, we're all commissioners.
I'm not asking for a bio.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
accepting Frank DeTilio's recommendation.
Okay.
Okay, if you want a bio, you
Could I
need to
get that?
contact him and ask for it, because
I'll
I'm
talk
not
to
going
Frank.
to.
I'll call
Thank
Frank
you.
up. I'll ask
Okay.
him. How's that?
The next item I'd like to comment on is Commissioner Vacy's remarks that she made about the NACO meeting, and you made a reference to groundwater waste from septic. And last Friday, and David Ashenhurst gave us an upfront meeting that NOACA was going to hold their meeting last Friday. And the report from NOACA dealt, and I don't have any of my notes here, but dealt with household sewage waste. And it's a 3-year study that was conducted by NOACA and 2 other counties that are part of a different metropolitan planning organization, Portage and Summit. And it's an extensive report that was given to NOACA last week, and it talks about the failing systems, and the NOACA board moved to accept the report and to encourage the state legislators and others to work on upgrading regulations. And so I have a copy of the letter to the editor that I submitted, since neither of the local newspapers saw fit to send a reporter to the meeting, and I was so disturbed because this was such important information, I felt, for Lorain County, that I did my own report. So I'll share that with you, but I didn't realize we were going to discuss that today. But NOACA has been up front with their 2,000 clean water, and this was part of it. And Pam Davis, who used to be an employee in our community development department and now works for NOACA, she was the principal on this, and she made the report. And we were at the Adam Joseph Lewis Research Center, which has their own living machine, which environmentally treats the wastewater in that building and then reuses the water for flushing of toilets and stuff. And so I thought it was just a wonderful array of things that came together at Oberlin College. So I want to publicly thank Oberlin College for hosting us, and that would conclude my comments.
Old business? I have none. Mr. Moore?
Let's see, we have
other than what's listed.
Oh,
Other
that's
than what's
listed. Oh,
listed. Do you
okay.
have anything other than what's
Nah, I've
listed?
got
Okay, and I don't either, Madam
Okay.
Clerk.
Number 1, authorize the reappointment of Mary Ann Titlebaum to Lorain County Children's Services Board for another 4-year term effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001, expiring June 30, 2005.
Dr. Crow has conferred with Jerry Ennis and supplied copy of updated Ohio Revised Code that allows us to have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 members on this board. Last week I said I thought we were capped at 13, but apparently the legislation has been updated. So I would like to suggest to the board that since we can have an additional appointment as information provided by Jerry Ennis, that I'll move to approve the reappointment of Mary Ann Titlebaum, and I will also include in that motion the appointment of Barbara Kilgore.
So you're talking about 14 members? How many do we have now?
13.
13, and this will make it 14?
Right.
Okay, and by law, that's all we're allowed for a county of our size.
Like Dan's on the board, he's like tightening right up over there.
5 members, and the Board of County Commissioners of the county having a population of 100,000 or more according to such census may appoint up to 9 additional members. So 5 and 9 would be, or 14 members, that's it.
Yeah, if I may comment on that. The 13 number works out very, very well when we do voting. You put 14 on there, it's an even number, and you might get into a deadlock. We used to have only 5 or 6 members for years, and we finally got to the 13 number, and it's working out very, very well with 13. And we have some very dedicated people on that board.
Did anybody ask for your comment?
I stood up because David said something, and I appreciate your
It was turning colors.
time, you know.
It was like,
I made a motion. Anybody want to second my motion?
I'll second it, but I would like to add to that, Dan. I think a board of that size also helps when you want to have committees. There are committees, and if you have enough people on the board, then
What do you want, Commissioner Moore?
well, now that I'm thinking about last minute, I know we can get 2. Like I said, I have 4
No, we
people.
can't get 2. What
Well,
are you
yeah,
talking
well,
about?
I have 4 people that I was going to put on there. I didn't know I could get 2 more. I mean, now that I knew that, I would have brought another bio with me today. You know.
Well, is there any other discussion on the motion?
Oh man.
Don't
And-
get greedy.
and
You've got
I
3
think-
more years.
I thought this was a great compromise. I was really excited about this, and now you're not happy. You want
Oh,
more.
come on. That's my name.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to touch that. I believe that the appointments are to be for 4-year terms. Is that correct, Mr. Ennis?
I believe that's correct.
Okay, so that my motion will stipulate the term for Mary Ann Titlebaum as it's shown here, and then for Barbara Kilgore, I would be effective today for 4 years.
Which is
Is there any further discussion on the motion?
You've got a motion and a second.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy? Aye. Mr. Moore?
Go ahead.
I with a thank you for the compromise. Okay.
You're welcome. Thanks to Dr. Crow.
Thank you. Dan's over there squirming now because he's got an even number board.
Number 2.
Item number 2, the assistant prosecutor has not had an opportunity to finalize his reviewing of this. Is that correct?
That's correct, Commissioner.
So we will hold this until next meeting, please.
Actually, I have to talk to Wayne Milletti, and he's going to be gone for a couple of weeks, so you might want to hold it till 2 weeks. And I've checked with the engineer. There's no problem with delaying it that long.
Okay. Why don't we just hold it until Mr. Ennis is finished with his review, and then we'll place it back on the agenda. Thank you, Jerry.
Authorize the appointment of Barbara Schral to Lorain County Fair Housing Board to fill the unexpired term of Patricia Robinette, who resigned. Term is effective July 12, 2001, expiring February 21st, 2004.
And Commissioner Vacy advises us that she doesn't have the bio.
We didn't get her bio yet.
Should we just table it?
We'll just hold
Should
it,
have
okay?
it next week.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. New business?
Commissioner Vacy?
None
Commissioner
here.
Moore?
Nah, thanks.
I have none. I move the reading of the board correspondence be waived.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Audience participation, public comment. Anyone? Mary Beth?
Mary Beth Derekito, Huntington Township. It's come to my attention that when the 2002 solid waste grants are presented to the townships for their application, 4 of the townships that I'm aware of have had their grant maximums cut. I wish to point out to the commissioners that, in my opinion at least, this is being penny wise and pound foolish. 2 of those townships have expressed concerns that they cannot run a recycling program with the grant monies that they will be allowed in 2002. The whole purpose of this was to encourage recycling throughout the county. And in my township, which is the only one I can speak of from personal experience, our biggest problem is getting new people into our program. We have a very loyal group of people who participate every 2 weeks in recycling drop-off, but we do not get new people. And I strongly suggest that you reconsider cutting these grants, because I think in the long run it will do far more harm than the little bit of money that's saved will do good, and that is my opinion.
Thank you for your comments, Mary Beth. Since it's a very important issue, I think I would like Dan to make a response, especially in view of the fact that we received fax yesterday from Pittsfield Township reiterating much of what you're talking about. And I did discuss with Dan, and he can address that issue, but apparently this is in response to a letter that has gone out from your department.
First of all, I don't know where you're getting your information, Mary Beth, but we have not even sent out the grants structure yet. So we have not denied anybody any money at this point in time. We do have a structure that is put forth by the Planning Board, Planning Policy Committee, okay? And that's been in effect since 1993. The reason for the letter that we sent out is that it looked like we were getting out of hand with these grants. The plan calls for $940,000. Okay, that's what the plan says. In the years past, it seems to be creeping up and up and up. And last year, our grant structure was about 1.4 or something. Okay. We waited till this year to do this because the grants are based on community data in the census. So we got the new census data, and we went through the whole list and reset the funding figures. And actually, the totals coming out of our figures right now that will be put out, as I told you earlier today, was $1,250,000. I estimate that probably when it's all said and done, because the commissioners in our department do have some discretion on these grants, that it will be around 1.3 million is what we give out, maybe a little bit more. We're actually only digressing. We're probably going to be saving in the neighborhood of 100,000 or a little bit more than that. Some of the communities must feel that they're going to be under a hardship. And some communities do a very, very good job of recycling. And some of the townships do an awful good job. And we'd hate to see them take the attitude that if they're not going to get $2 instead of $1, that they would drop out of a recycling program because of that. I'd like to see some of the communities step up and help fund some of the programs that we have initiated in the past. I think it's the thing to do. I think that sometimes when money becomes tight, we have to look at other issues and move on. But I don't see at this point in time where they're getting their information as far as what communities are going to be cut, because we haven't actually even sent out the grant structure yet.
That was what we authorized today. Is that
Right.
correct? Okay.
Right, and that'll be going out, and it's got to be back in by November. And once that the grant process is completed, then it'll come back into the district office. We'll look at them, make recommendations to you, the Board of Commissioners, and you'll have the final say on the grant program as far as the actual dollars and cents.
All right, thank you. Did you have further question, Mary Beth?
No, only to respond to Dan's question of where I got the information from. I got it from the individual townships. And I happened to see the letter that was sent to Rochester Township when they were cut from 10,000 to something over 5,000. It's extremely difficult to run these programs when your funds are cut in half. In the case of, well, I think every township's had a population increase since the last census. And fuel costs are up. People are aware of that, I'm sure. Those that are having the blue bag system, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have a raise in cost just because of fuel. So that's where I got my information from. It is a concern to us in the townships.
Thank you, and we appreciate your comments, and yours as well, Dan. Anyone else in the audience who wishes to? Mike Sherman?
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll be extremely brief. I just wanted to extend an invitation to the Commissioners and the general public. Once again, on Sunday, September the 2nd, which is the Sunday of Labor Day weekend, Lorain County Organized Labor will be sponsoring a family festival at Lakeview Park. This is open to the general public. The general public is encouraged to attend. This is for all working people and their families. The cost of the event is free. The admission is free. What we do is subsidize this through sponsorships, labor union participation, private participation, public authorities. Mr. Billman's office is on board. They are working in conjunction with the Lorain Parks Department for a recycling effort that day. The County Blood Bank, Community College, banks, businesses, private sector, public sector. What we do with this money is we make it as cost-free for the general public as possible. Pop's a quarter, chips are a quarter, hot dogs are a quarter. Numerous entertainment venues for the children. 8 live bands will be performing. There's a car show. Again, we do this all through sponsorships so that a working family can attend at a very, very minimal cost. Information regarding individual sponsorships and participations was forwarded to Mr. Cordez's office, I believe, and just want to re-invite all of you and the general public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? If not, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks.